Hello and welcome, everybody. It is Thursday night, so it is time once again for the Tank Show, where we spend some time acquiring new knowledge. I do, of course, have my buddy, pal, and co-host Chattanooga Ed here with me, and appreciate you joining me as always for the Thursday night show.
It's great to be here.
So it always feels weird, and I was talking to Ed a little bit about this before we started, but it always feels kind of off when we miss a week because we weren't on last week, and we'll talk a little bit about that coming up. But it seems like haven't been on in forever, even though we just missed one show last Thursday. So I'm very glad to be back. Glad to have you all here. Appreciate you joining us. And a huge shout out to John and Lisa at KG Tropicals for the send over. Appreciate you all very much as always. If you're new to the channel here, we do, of course, take questions and comments throughout the show. If you put the @ symbol in front of Fish Room Fever, that will highlight on my screen and allow me to kind of pull those out of the chat a little bit easier, since it gets kind of wild in there sometimes. A lot of good conversation that goes on between people in there. So I guess to start off with, we haven't done a stream since we were at the Triple Crown 2 Thursdays ago in Kentucky. Last week was, of course, Aquashella Dallas. We did go out there. We made it to Dallas and then came right back because of the wonderful Kodash vid. But I'm feeling good. Ed, how are you feeling these days?
Well, I feel like I have strep throat, but I tested positive again today. I was hoping it was gone. I mean, I knew I was still sick, but I was keeping my fingers crossed. This quarantine has been a lot less fun than when you were quarantined when you're healthy. Last time I quarantined, everybody in my family had it, and there was like 10 people on the other half of my house that had it, and I absolutely loved it for 2 weeks. I was so productive and had so much fun, and now I pretty much just want to lay in bed. It's terrible. But oh well.
I am sorry to hear that, buddy. I never really got hit hard with the feel bads. The worst thing is I picked up an ear infection like 2 days ago, so I can't even really hear out of this ear. But other than that, it's been a productive one for me. I came back here and I was like, well, I'm home. What am I going to do about it? So I moved a bunch of tanks around, did big water changes on everything, set up some new tanks. I set up a escaping rack. So I've kind of went through and collected all of my rock and driftwood and substrates. And I've been rebagging substrates and a bunch of stuff like that. I've been kind of hesitant to start up too many new things that would require a lot of teardown or that need a lot of time to fill in just because of the the upcoming move. But I made it a very productive one since I wasn't really feeling bad. And I did find I still had 5 tests here at the house that I knew I had somewhere. So checked there and everything's good. I'm still going to wear a mask, of course, even with the negative test and feeling fine. I'm still going to wear a mask Saturday when I go to the East Tennessee Aquatic Association monthly meetup. Shout out to the Knoxville Club. But I'll be picking up a bunch of live foods while I'm there from a live foods expert. So I'm looking forward to that because I haven't done live foods really in a while. And that also is going to give me the opportunity to share that on the channel. We're going to break all of those down and do individual videos for a bunch of different live foods.
The club this weekend is having an awesome speaker. He specializes in high quality guppies. And there's Nico. It's like, oh, I can't believe they always have the guppy guy, or something that when I can't make it, they have something awesome. But and then they might have their brand new shirts in. So
Ooh,
pretty exciting.
Nice.
Yep.
Well, I'm going to say a couple of thank yous real quick before we get any further along. Mandy Boyd, thank you so much. Welcome back to the team, I believe it is. Bringing that membership back. Appreciate that very, very much. We do a little happy dance there. I almost forgot I had those things for you guys. Welcome back. There is some stuff that I think you may have missed in the members only section. A couple of fun little things back there for you to check out. So if you're feeling bored, feel free to do that. And welcome back to the Fish Room Fever family. Killer Kitty 08 with the $2 super chat rather Says the dynamic duo are back. The whole bunch of confetti party poppers. Yes, we are. Hopefully Ed'll be up to speed here soon and feeling better. But yeah, we're back. And we're sorry we missed you guys last week. We really contemplated doing a live stream from the road. It wouldn't be the first time, but just given the time of day, it was just going to be too dark to really do anything. And we didn't feel that we could contribute a whole lot by both of us sitting there in the truck in the dark driving down the road. And the only other option is to have some sort of light on in the cab while Ed's driving down the interstate. And we didn't want to do that. So sorry we missed you last week. We really thought hard about trying to put one on. And I even looked at a couple places. It's like maybe we could stop, and even just do a short stream. But it didn't work out. So I apologize. But we are glad to be back. And thank you so much for the love and support with the super chat. Get back up here.
Well, and we were also driving through the Appalachian Mountains so the signal wasn't very good either at the end there.
Yeah, no, it was kind of off and on. Rico Stan with the $5 super chat says, "Where do babies come from? If you have anatomically correct dolls, that would help. I'm a visual learner." So Rico Stan, you're going to want to go look at my video. It's called My Secret to Breeding Plecos. I talk a little bit about where babies come from in that one, and that should help you out, buddy. Seriously, Rico, appreciate you filling in last night and all of the things you do to support us and the fish fam in general. Thank you so much for that, my friend. Drink Water, been a member for 13 months. Says, howdy, everyone. 13 months. What? Great time. And you could tell I'm not 100% because I keep missing doing those for all these awesome people that are throwing us money. There we go. Seriously, thank you so much. And Drink Water, yeah, time flies. It's hard to believe. We've been doing this for a couple of years now, and I never really expected memberships to be a thing because at that point in time, you had to have like 30,000 subscribers for memberships. So when it rolled around and all you awesome people decided to show love and support to help us continue doing the things that we try and do around here, it means a lot, and I really do appreciate you. Stephanie McGettigan, thank you so much for being a member, using that membership. Milestone Super Chat, I've been a member for 2 months now. I hope you're enjoying it. It says, hope you're both feeling better real soon. Yeah, I hope Ed gets better. John over at KG kept picking on me that I made Ed sick, but, Ed's a big boy and I'm a big boy, and life happens to all of us, unfortunately. But we'll talk, I guess you could say, a little bit more about that here in a minute. After I get through these, they're just rolling on in here, and I want to address them before they disappear off of my screen. And then we will get into the questions and comments and talk about the Triple Crown, because we talked from the Triple Crown before it really happened, but we never really came back and talked about it after the fact. Let's see here. We've got Jeff H. Oh, wait, this one was for Stephanie. Here we go. Little dance. Little happy time. Jeff H. been a member for 6 months. Thank you so much using that membership. Milestone Super Chat says, howdy, fish people. Howdy, Jeff. Hope you are well, my friend. Always good to see you, and thank you for being part of the Fish Room of Fever family. 2 thumbs up for you, my guy. Texas Fish Room. Man, I really wanted to hang out with you again, Texas Fish Room. Using the membership Milestone Super Chat. Been a member for 21 months. It says, hey, we didn't get to hang out at Aquashella. I do too. We'll touch on that here in a minute, but it was a bummer, and that's kind of why I took. I joked with John at KG. He's like, "You're the only person I know that doesn't answer text messages until 4 days later." I was like, "Well, I took a Kodash break from everything, and that was partially just because I felt kind of down about missing the thing." And I didn't want any of that potential negativity or anything to get relayed out into the world. So I kind of was like, I'm going to step back and I'm just going to do my fish things, and I'm going to be happy and grateful that I'm home and doing what I'm doing. But we're back, baby. And hopefully we will see you next year, Texas. All right. I know we've got some more, but let's jump on over here real quick. Make sure I'm not missing any comments. We need to try and help some people here in the chat. Yeah, Alice B is saying, how are we feeling? Covered that one. Alice, always good to see you. Appreciate you coming in. Appreciate you asking about us. Matthew, how is it going? Says, love the Kylo Ren mask. Ed's always got awesome stuff going on in his background. Me, I've just got fishies. All right, let's roll on down through here. Yep, see, it jumped on me once. That's what I was afraid of. All right. So I would like to say, I guess starting out talking about the Triple Crown, talking about Aquashella Dallas and the whole situation that arose there. I have so first, I guess to throw it out there, I've seen a lot of like, well, this person was sick first, and who did it? No, and I feel like that's nonsensical and kind of wasteful. I mean, for all we know, somebody could have shown up at the Triple Crown that wasn't even showing symptoms and didn't even know they were sick. So I want to get that out there first, just because I've seen some like behind the whatever stuff, and it's like I really don't care what happened. And that being said, like I've told a couple people, even if I knew that going to the Triple Crown would have forced me to miss Aquashella Dallas, as much as I love Aquashellas, and y'all know I do because we go to all of them, and as much as I hate it that I didn't get to hang out with some of the people in Texas, I still wouldn't have changed it. I think the Triple Crown for me was probably one of the best events that I've ever been to. It's a totally different kind of thing than an Aquashella. But I got to see some people that I never get to see at Aquashellas. I got to hang out with a lot of people for the first time that I've known, through the YouTubes for a while now. And I'm going to try not to do names because I promise I will forget some. But there are a lot of people that I don't get to see at Aquashella, and we got to have some really, really good experiences at the Triple Crown. There was a lot of, I guess you could say, information that maybe doesn't present quite as much at an Aquashella versus like a club meeting event type of deal. So it's one of those that even if I knew I'd miss Dallas, I still would go to the Triple Crown. I mean, some of the highlights from that was just hanging out with a dozen plus people around the fire, even though the fire wasn't lit, that campfire area, and just talking to people that I've, like I said, known for a while through YouTube's, but never met, and probably won't get to meet ever at an Aquashella. I think one of my favorite times was our little Waffle House shenanigans at 3 a.m. with Ed, Bentley Pasco, and myself running around trying to find an open Waffle House, which if you watched Bentley's video, he talked a little bit about that. That was some shenanigans in and of itself. And then sitting there with Lucas Bretz, and everybody kind of slowly peeled away and went to bed. And it's just Lucas and I sitting there as the sun comes up. And it was just the most amazing sunrise that I think I've ever seen in my life. I got some video of it, and I know Lucas did too. And I actually had to move the camera and include telephone or power lines and things in it just so you could tell that it wasn't a painting, because it really looked like you were filming a priceless work of art. It was so vibrant. It's just things like that, those little moments that I definitely would not pass up on, as much as I hate the fact that we missed out on Aquashella. And I feel really bad because Ed is such a vital part of what happens at Aquashella. I felt bad they didn't have him. I'm kind of just there, but Ed is really a driving force behind making everything work for the Aquashellas. So,
well, thank you. I don't know. I'm not that big of a part, but I love Aquashella, and I love the Triple Crown. It was a lot of fun, but I would have traded.
And I figured you would have.
The Triple Crown is like, I went to the ALA event last year in Miami, and I absolutely had a wonderful, wonderful time. And it was, the local club like organizes it generally for the national clubs. And I don't think they had a local club. So there was like no just giant poster boards telling me where to go or anything. None of the clubs were organized with each other. I made one talk, and it was the one talk I didn't want to go to. I managed to make every auction somehow. They made sure you got to the money spenders. But the people, that's what made it special, but I think we ought to go on a cruise or something. If we're just going to go hang out and have a lot of fun, would be a cruise would be better than going to a hotel like that. But I mean, it, and I'm sure that next year go back to those big club events, because they're going to make sure they're reorganized and know what they're doing.
Absolutely, and that's totally understandable. I did get to make a lot of the talks that I was trying to. It was kind of frustrating the way they overlapped everything, so you had to make a lot of decisions on what you were going to do. Fortunately, Mike from Fish Tank Barn, love that guy. Shout out to him. He's like, well, you know that talk is available on the members only section of Aquarium Co-ops. I'm like, oh, I can skip this one and I can go watch this other talk, and I can watch the other one, on YouTube. So that made it a little helpful. But
well, and I think the
um,
ALA had less talks. I think
yeah,
they figured we don't need to bring as many because everybody else is going to be talking, and that's what kind of made more of the confusion too. Was that Rainbow seemed to be the only people that were organized, and I could have made every Rainbow event because that was the only ones I knew what was going on.
yeah, absolutely. And that's pretty much where I was for most of it. So that was really neat to be able to hear those talks and see that footage and meet some legends in the Rainbow game. And that played into it as well. Of course, we got awesome people like Paul. I know I said I wasn't going to name names because I'll miss people, but I see you
Oh
there,
man,
Paul. It was
yeah.
awesome to meet you and the missus. There it is. There was a question. It wasn't highlighted. I had to refind it. The Tabor says, "Need help here, guys. New to your channel. We have a Texas cichlid that is pretty aggressive. He charges the glass when we walk by. You can hear his teeth hit the glass and all. Any suggestions?"
Wow. Are
That's
you
that's
getting
that's
by
a,
the
a
tank
mean one.
enough?
Yeah, that's.
I
Go
go
ahead,
ahead.
buddy.
Well, I think he probably needs more human, interaction. And I know because I know there's a point where you don't want your fish to be afraid, but you want them to know who you are. And if you leave a tank alone forever, they're going to act more wild and stuff. And maybe he'll just always be a crazy wild fish. But I know it kind of stinks, but is he in a spot or a room that you're only in once a day or, very seldomly? Because fish have weird
Yeah,
behaviors when they never see people.
absolutely. That was the first thing I was going to touch on, was trying to socialize it a little bit more. Now that it could be that that's not the case, but that's kind of the first thing I lean to when I hear about a fish that's charging like that. Because oftentimes when we have that happening, what a lot of hobbyists will do is say, "Well, I'm bothering the fish, so I'm going to stay away from it as much as possible," and that's kind of was counterintuitive as to what we might need to do to get that fish more accustomed to you being around. I don't know what the traffic area is like around that tank, but that's one thing to keep in mind.
Let
Another
him.
thing that
Oh,
you can
sorry.
do. No, you go ahead, bud.
I was also going to say, let him know that you're the hand of God. You're the person that feeds him. Throw some giant jumbo krill in there and let him know that it's coming from your hands. So that way he wants to see you instead of doesn't want to see you. I'm sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that is another very good point. Is you can. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to do a full feeding every time, but if you just take a couple pieces of krill in, kind of like a treat, do like Ed's talking about, let him know that, hey, you're the hand of God, so to speak. That can help. Another thing that you can do, which sounds really weird, and if you do this, you don't want to make it so that the whole aquarium is like a whirlpool, but definitely adding a power head in there that at least has a section of that tank that's got a lot of flow in it. I have found sometimes with fish that are really aggressive, or they have an excess abundance of energy. If you get them a really high flow area, a lot of times they'll kind of wear that out. You also may be able to set it up to where you're running that high flow straight across the front glass. I don't know what your setup looks like, but this is just kind of one of the places I would go with it. If you're running a power head straight across the front glass and you've got a nice uh, heavy flow going through there, that may also help to keep him from hitting the glass quite so hard, because when he goes to hit that front glass, he's kind of got that water current to turn in there and lets him burn off some energy. As I mentioned, though, always make sure that you have some slower spots in there in places that the fish can get out of the stream, whether it's little fish, big fish, doesn't matter. That way you're not overexerting them. But I've yet to find a fish that didn't enjoy having a really strong flow area that they can optionally go into, and kind of get some of the orneriness out, if you will, and then back out of it if they start to get tired. And hopefully those things will help. And I'll keep a lookout, the Tabor, see if you throw anything else in the chat. I'll try and catch it. Let's roll on down through here before this jumps on me and I miss some stuff. There we go. We got drink water. Deb Halty asks, when will you be moving? So, the first of the tanks are being moved tomorrow. I'm sorry about my face lights up and I get excited. I do want to
Awesome.
clarify that they are not being set up tomorrow, but where I've got, you know, what, 5-6 dozen empty tanks now at this point. We're going to start getting them moved over and stored and prepped over there. We've already been looking at the waiting list right now. Is ridiculous to have an additional well put in. I mean, it's like a 6-month waiting list unless you want to pay to get to the front of the line. So we're hoping we can get that worked out and get that put in a little bit sooner. But technically speaking, the first of the tanks should be moved tomorrow. So I'm very much looking forward to that. I think we've got a spot narrowed down to put the fish palace, the new fish room. So there are a couple places I'm looking at, but we've got it narrowed down in terms of, I'd say, I guess, across like a 3-acre area of where the potential spots are out of the 25 acres. So I'm really looking forward to it. And I'm thinking long term of putting it closer towards the quote unquote front of the property, kind of closer to the road, which I initially was very hesitant to do. But I think it would be neat, you know, down the road if we've got, you know, let's say people come in for Aquaticon in Knoxville, Tennessee, and then people want to come out and do a tour of the place. I think it would be neat to kind of have it, you know, like right there as you drive up on the property. You don't have to go, you know, through the woods and all that to get to it. So we'll see. We'll see exactly where it goes. But it's going to be something, and that's part of the reason why I'm getting these live foods this weekend. A lot of what I've been doing has been kind of breeding prep and things like that. So I went through and pulled like all my assassin snails, all my Malaysian trumpet snails. I got all my plecos back into little breeding colonies and started getting temperatures back where I want them at. I'm going to have a live food section in that fish house, which is one of the reasons I want to get cultures now and get everything started, because it's going to be fun. It's going to be an adventure. So that was my focus of, well, you know, everything happens for a reason. I'm missing Aquashella. What can I do with it? And the answer was start getting things ready for the future fish room fever, if you will.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. Killer Kitty 08 says, awesome. I need a great resource for live food care. Absolutely. That was another thing. I've tried to help people as much as we can on these live streams, but I haven't put out the video library that I feel like I should have to be helping people. So you're going to see a lot more of that. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one monthly product review because people do enjoy those. I'm going to do one monthly kind of how to this, you know, how to culture, you know, whatever live food, or how to do that. And then we'll have the fever and friends. So it's going to kind of be a mix of videos that we're going to be doing on the channel versus we just do product reviews, or we just do, you know, how to this. And that way everybody can have a small takeaway from it. And I can help do some of the teaching, if you will. Not that I claim to be an expert on anything, but I can help share what knowledge I do have to as many people as possible that way. Because live streams are not for everybody. As much as I love you guys, 136,000 people watching. I do appreciate you all being here, but a lot of people never show up for a live stream, and they pointed that out in the comments when I started doing videos again. They're like, "It's good to see you're finally making a video because I don't go to your live streams." And I was like, "Well, I'm sorry, I'm a jerk, and I needed to fix that." Well, I'm down through here. Jay Zone says, "My tank looks really good, but it smells bad. What can I do?" So smell is one of those things that, how do I don't want to come across as offensive. Smell is one of those things that when you're doing aquariums right, you shouldn't have to deal with. And what I mean by that is that if you're having a smell, there's some sort of underlying issue that needs resolved. It's kind of hard to spot what it would be without some more details. I will say, just in terms of getting rid of the smell, you could try throwing in like some activated carbon and things like that. That's going to help pull stuff out of the water, but that's not going to necessarily treat why it smells. Usually it's something, and I know you said it looks really good. Have you tested the parameters? Because it's easy for a tank to look pristine or look pretty, but to have parameters off. Maybe if you've got a heavily planted tank, something died off in there. Maybe you've got, who knows, maybe a fish jumped out behind it and the smell's coming from behind it. There's so many variables without knowing exactly what we're looking at. But in terms of just getting the smell out of the water, you could use like an activated carbon, or I guess a Purigen. Though I haven't really used Purigen. I've got a bunch of it over here that I haven't really messed with. But something like that to try and pull out whatever is going on in there. I would probably do, depending upon what your stock is, if you don't have anything that would be affected by a larger water change, do like a 25% water change. That if you've got some shrimp in there, maybe I wouldn't necessarily recommend that much. Maybe start with a 10% and then give it a couple days, do another one. But generally speaking, when everything's working together properly, you really shouldn't have a smell. That's one of those things that I think most experienced hobbyists, our biggest fear is always when we've walked into our fish rooms or walked into a room that houses one of our tanks and we get a smell. And usually, more often than not, that's because a heater stuck on and cooked everything. But there can definitely be other reasons for it. Some of the things I've seen in the past, maybe you've got some plants, some floaters or some plants that have grown to the top and that foliage is getting cooked by the light you've got on there. And then you get this kind of rotten, mushy plant thing going on at the top that can cause some odors. But it's really hard to give an analysis without knowing what could possibly be going wrong. And I'm just guessing at anything and everything that could be going wrong.
One of my things that causes a lot of smell is when I miss the tank with food, and I'm dropping food on the floor or dropping it on the ledge or dropping it on top of the tank. I'd like to say once a month, but it's probably more like once every other month. I go through with the shop vac and I suck all the flakes and everything that I miss, because that stuff is potent and, it's going to get humid and it's going to put off a lot of smell too. It's just the food that doesn't get in the tank. And if it's
that's
behind
an
the
awesome
tanks,
point.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a very, very good point. And I have that same issue I run into feeding, and especially if you've got a lot of tanks and you're trying to go through and feed, it's easy to get little particulate on the rim or under the glass and things like that. So very good point there. You see here, we've got Matthew says, are bloodworms not easy to breed? I don't ever hear anyone breed them because it could save a lot of money. I've not looked into breeding them. I will say from everything that I have not seen, just like you, Matthew, I feel like if they were easy to breed, there would be a lot more people doing it and there would be a lot more informational resources out there about it. So just my assumption, which we all know how assumptions go, but my assumption would be, given that I've not seen more information regarding it, that it is not an easy endeavor. What about you, Ed? Do you know anything about it?
I don't know a lot about it, but I think where you're seeing like San Francisco Bay, if we would go to where they're making or growing their bloodworms, we'd probably gag from the smell, because I think they're growing them in a pretty smelly, gross situation, because that's what the worms like. And then they pull them out and they freeze them for us, so we don't have to deal with it. So I think that's a big part of it, is the gross factor. Just throwing it out there.
That's a good point. Now, see, now I'm going to have to look into that. That's one I've not looked into. So who knows? Maybe we'll have a bloodworm farm out on the new property, way far away from everything, where it doesn't smell up the everything else. The super small animal gal, sorry, says, what's the best food to feed coolie loaches? Ed, do you want to start on this one, since I haven't shut up much tonight?
Well, coolie loaches, I pretty much just eat whatever's left over, right? So I would throw, like, if you have any Cory cats, you could throw some pellets in there, and the Cory cats aren't going to be able to eat them all, and they'll just gobble them up at night. Just I don't think anybody really feeds their coolie loaches, do they? I think it's just they just kind of get fed by everybody else. Everything.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I've never specifically fed for coolie loaches. I think maybe the only person that really does might be Sean Peck at Peck Tech, just because that was the only thing he had in that tank. But it's always been they kind of scavenge whatever. And so my thought with pretty much any fish you're going to keep is a well-balanced diet. I know Ed feels the same way. So it's not just, oh, this one thing is the best thing, because it goes back to all things in moderation. So, we both feed everything from flakes to pellets to frozen, bloodworms and all sorts of other stuff. And so the coolies get to take part in eating a variety of these things. There's not one food that I would really recommend is the best to feed to anything. I would guess, other than maybe to, well, so even with betta, I was going to say specialized betta food for bettas, but even then, you still want to kind of vary up a little bit what they're getting. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about it too much in terms of specifically trying to find one good thing to feed coolie loaches. I would just feed a well-balanced variety of foods to the tank overall, and they're going to scavenge a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and that's going to be the healthiest thing for them, in my humble opinion. Stephen P. 2003 Aquatics, using that membership milestone super chat, been a member for 11 months on Team Snowball, says, welcome back. Missed having y'all in Dallas. Missed seeing you there, Stephen. At least we got to see you at the Triple Crown. But yeah, it stinks. I'm not going to lie. It does stink that we had to miss Dallas. But, it is what it is. Stephen, unfortunately, is one of those awesome people that I will get to see again at other events in the future, I am sure. We got Gina's Reef in here. Welcome to the team. Thank you for becoming a member and part of the Fish Room Fever family. Gina's one of those awesome people we got to hang out with at the Triple Crown. And Keeper Kane also becoming a member. Both y'all get a little happy dance here.
You know what? Can we mention a little bit about Keeper Kane real quick?
Absolutely. Go right ahead.
He is the president of the Chattanooga club, or not the Knoxville club. And he's an awesome guy. He has a channel that he's just started up. He was on Mitch's Scruffy City this week with Tanner. Right. And he's just a super nice guy. He has a Fish Mafia hat on like Deadpool. So, he's got to be half cool at least. So, yeah. Guys, if you can drop a link to him, it'd be awesome if people go sub to him, because he's just starting out, and it would be great to give him some love right off the bat.
Absolutely. And I didn't realize that's who that was. My apologies, Keeper Kane. I knew I'd seen your name, and I'm so used to talking to Scruffy City there when it comes to the club stuff, but I'm still having to familiarize with everybody else. My apologies. Let's get on down through here. And of course, I didn't do the member spiel. Be sure you check out the awesome behind the scenes members only content, and you get access to all those fun little emojis in the chat that everybody seems to enjoy. Even more than the behind-the-scenes videos, but hey, it is what it is. Levi says, hi, James and Ed. I missed everyone. Glad to be back. We are glad to be back, and thank you so much. It's really weird when you've been doing this, for a couple of years, and you get accustomed to talking to everybody on a weekly basis and hanging out and having a good time, and then you miss everybody for a week. For me personally, it really feels like forever. It doesn't feel like we missed one show. It feels like, wow, I haven't been on in like a month or something. So really glad to be back and appreciate you being here. All 128 of you awesome people watching. Thank you so much. Scrolling down through here. Make sure I have not missed anything else. And there goes the jump. We knew that was coming. All right. Scroll right back up here. I see a question from Stephanie that we'll get to. Scary Terry. Make sure I've not overlooked anything on the way through there. Hey, Oink Master, I'll be right back there. Paul's letting everybody know. If you want to distract me, put at Fish Room Fever with your question or comment, and it will throw me off track, and I can answer it. All right, almost back up there. Jeff H, I see you, my friend. Thank you so much for that. I'll get right back down there to you. Oh, I think we probably lost a couple things. As farthest back up I can get to is Whip's World. What's going on, Whip? Been a member for 11 months using that membership milestone. Super chat says, I just want to say I appreciate you both, and I'm very happy to see you both up there on my screen, even if neither one of you are 100%. Whip, we appreciate you, and we're glad to be on the screen. I love my little family here. I love talking to you guys. Yeah, I don't have my Whip shirt on. I got my KG Tropical shirt on, but it's always good to be back. And thank you so much, Whip, for everything. You get 2 thumbs up in my book, my friend. Let's roll on down here. Tim Kendrick says, "Hey guys, happy Thursday." Tim, it's great to see you. Happy Thursday. I hope you've been doing well. Hope life is not kicking you too hard. Paul Sotero says, "James, even if they have it again, would you go to another Triple Crown?" Yes, I would. I have now instituted a policy that I will not plan to attend 2 events within a week of each other, just to be safe. It was kind of an eye opener, like what will why did I try and plan it that way? But
well, it's the first time we've never got sick after an Aquashella.
Yeah.
So that's what really threw a wrench in it, because you feel like these things are no problem, and then you do get sick.
Absolutely. But yeah, I would definitely go to another Triple Crown, especially if it was close by again. I mean, that was, again, I love the Aquashellas very, very much, and we'll continue to go to those. But it was just kind of a different sort of event. Did it have its issues? Yes. I feel like anytime you're bringing together different clubs or different groups that maybe don't normally interact with each other, and you're trying to synchronize everything in the same place, there are going to be problems. Could some of those probably have been easily fixed? Yeah. But I feel like, as with anything, they would continue to improve. I don't think that there's anyone that's serious about putting on an event that looks at it and goes, we did our best. Let's just do that again next year. I think anybody that's serious about putting on an event is constantly looking to improve and make things better for the attendees for future events. So yeah, I definitely would, Paul.
I think one of the problems is some of the people just don't like each other from the different clubs.
Yeah,
I think and we aren't part of either. Well, I mean, I am part of the AHL, but I'm not like a real live person. I don't know. I'm not like part of the gang. If they were a gang, it's like a bunch of gangs showing up, and then being like at Sturgis, and like the Hells Angels are supposed to all of a sudden, like, I don't know, another good group. The Night Riders from World Warrior. I don't know. So it's like they would like speak bad about each other and snap about each other on the elevators on the way up.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was like, what? But luckily we were part of the YouTubers, and maybe they all hated us, and that's why they didn't snap at us.
Yeah,
but
pretty much.
There was a lot of YouTube people there, and it was wonderful and fun. I mean, I bet you we were probably the second biggest group. I bet you with Cichlids and us.
I saw some people that would come out. The hotel had this lovely little area right outside that had benches, and they were like outdoor patio furniture, cushioned benches, not just like a hard wooden bench. So it kind of became the hangout area for a lot of the YouTube people. There were once or twice where I would hear people as they were coming out, like, "Who is that?" "That's the YouTubers." I'm like, "Really? Okay." So I think it was an eye opener for some people to actually see us out and kind of force, if you will, that, hey, it's a thing, and we do exist. Gosh darn it. Whipsworld said, "It was good to hear you say it was good. Fisherman Fever, I've heard the opposite from some of the fish fam." I mean, it's all about individual perspective. It may have been bad for some people. I am also, one of those people that have learned to take a life approach of finding the good in anything and understanding that all things happen for a reason. Despite how horrible sometimes those things are, everything kind of works out. So I tend to look at the good stuff. Yeah, I could gripe about the negatives and say, well, it was horrible because, like Ed mentioned, the people didn't get along and they were bad mouthing each other. And it was horrible because we got the Kodash bid and had to miss Aquashella Dallas. And it was junky because I didn't get to do these things. Again, there were definitely some things that needed to be resolved and some things that probably will never be resolved, such as the club's kind of, what's the best way to put this? So for anybody that's familiar with how the saltwater side of the hobby has a tendency to, not always, but has a tendency to look down upon the whole freshwater side of the hobby, you got that same feeling, but it was freshwater against freshwater. So it was the cichlid people trashing the live bearers, and this group doesn't like that group, and it's a shame because we're all fish keepers, and I think that I'm not going to get off on that tangent here. This was actually,
it was just silly.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I was actually going to talk to John, our talk at Aquashella Dallas. I was like, let's talk about keeping fish keepers fish keeping, and this was going to be part of it. Was all these little groups and cliques and niches, and people not realizing that we're all here because we have a passion about keeping things in glass boxes, whether it be different things or not. But I could probably rant for an hour on that. We've only got 20 minutes left, and I know we've got highlighted stuff I need to get to. Scruffy City Aquatic says we could always rent out the Knoxville Star. Absolutely. I mean, it's us fish people love to get together, so you never know. Jeff H, thank you so much for the $7.77 super chat. Appreciate that. We do a little dance there. Seriously, thank you so much for the support.
What's the Knoxville Star?
It's a little cruise boat thing that we've got here in Knoxville. Goes down the river.
Too much fun.
Oh yeah. So looking forward to meeting you too in Chicago, assuming you'll be there. Any chance of seeing y'all at Keystone Clash in September? Feel better.
I should be at that too.
Ed will be at the Clash. I don't foresee any possibility of me being at the Clash. And I do apologize that I won't be there, but we'll definitely be in Chicago, pending any crazy sick issues for that. There shouldn't be any because I'm not going anywhere anytime prior to that. But yeah, it'll be awesome to get to see you in Chicago. And I really do appreciate the support with the super chat. It means a lot, and it really helps with the upcoming projects. I mean, the things that we're doing. We've got some silent financing going on, we'll put it that way. But it's still the awesome everyday folks that come in here with the memberships and the super chats and the super stickers that make the day-to-day stuff possible and allow us to kind of stretch into some new things with the hobby and make some really cool stuff possible in the future that we can share with the world. Paul Sotero says I'm taking the SUV and leaving the Beetle home next time. Yeah, Paul, I don't blame you. Congrats on getting that tank, and I'm sorry you had to sell that tank. But yeah, I don't blame you at all, Paul. And it was so cool getting to hang out with you and to meet your missus as well. So things like that. Paul's one of those that I don't get to see at the Aquashellas, so it was awesome to hang out with him at the Triple Crown. All right, let's get through here. Scary Terry says, timeout fisherman fever. I had a Dempsey that was like that, and I took him out and put him in a quarantine tank for a day. And when I put him back, he chilled out. So you can do that. You can put fish in timeout. That used to be a big thing in the hobby where you either take them out, put them in a quarantine tank, depending on the size, or you would see people with some of the larger breeder boxes that would like take an African cichlid and throw them in there for a timeout. And that can work. And there's the Tabor saying he's over a foot long in a 75-gallon by himself for that aggressive fish.
I have a fish basically in timeout right now also.
Yeah.
So I totally understand. But, I mean, he's become so docile and terrified. But I think as soon as I put him back into the 200, he's going to start killing people again.
Absolutely. And I mean, this guy's over a foot long and he's by himself in a 75, so he's kind of already in timeout. I mean, the other thing you could do, kind of distract him, if you will, that's a hard fish to put in timeout. He's already by himself anyways. Is you could just try completely rearranging everything in that tank, completely upsetting his habitat, and making him start fresh. But I don't know that that's going to do you a lot of good in that particular instance with that one. That's more oftentimes an African cichlid thing when they're buying for dominance. But I mean, you could give it a try. Worst case is it doesn't work and you're still in the same situation with the tank rearranged. Let's go through here. Hey, Lonnie, good to see you. Paul Sotero says James House of Mystery, shovel nose settling in. Oh, you had to ask. That's one of the ones that I did a dumb. So let's just be honest about it here. So I got that shovel nose that it was a marble hybrid with a tiger shovel nose, and my Bishers have had plenty of catfish in with them before. My Bishers have other fish in with them now. I put him in there because at this point, a lot of the tanks are broken down, and the biggest thing I have up is that 100-gallon. The other ones are standing on end waiting to be moved. So I put him in there. I was like, there's nothing in there that catfish can really eat. And, everything else is used to having fish of that size or even smaller hanging around in there. Well, my sweet, wonderful, ornate Bisher, Felix, one of the 3 ornates in there, the largest of them, the day after we got back from Texas, I'm sitting there in the living room and I look into that tank, and that Ornatopenis, that ornate Bisher, is swimming around with that tiger shovelnose hybrid's head hanging out of its mouth. And I was like, you son of a gun. And I was at a low point. So that really just kind of irritated me bad.
Dang.
Because it's like, why? Why? I mean, there's other fish in there that you could have eaten a lot easier. Why? And it's just one of those stupid, dumb fluke things that happened. And I blame myself. But, I what works for me may not work for you, and it doesn't always continue to work for me. He just decided that particular catfish he was going to eat. And so he did, unfortunately. And so that was the end of that.
If I would have known how aggressive ornates are opposed to all the other Bishers, I would have never got my 2 ornates. They're just unbelievable how they're eating machines.
They are. They can be. Absolutely. And it's one of those things where he just got an irk. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Gorgeous fish. But he just decided for some reason he was going to eat that guy. I even moved out the Jack Dempsey because the Jack Dempsey was, picking at that particular catfish. And so I moved the Jack Dempsey out before we left for Texas because I wanted to make sure that he was safe in there. And I was like, okay, the Jack's out of there. He's the aggressive one in the tank. And that may have been what kind of gave Felix, that ornate, the guts to do it, because that Jack Dempsey is kind of the tank boss. And he kind of keeps everybody in their place, including those Bishers. And so I think with him out of there, that possibly could have been why Felix, the ornate, decided that he was going to do what he did. But I'll never know exactly why it happened. I just know it did, and I felt really dumb after the fact, unfortunately. So
I don't think you can blame yourself for that.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. I just always, yeah, it is. So I think most fish keepers, especially if you've been around for a while, we all feel a level of responsibility for taking in these live things and giving them the best life that we possibly can in a glass box. So it sucks, but like you said, there's, if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, it is what it is, unfortunately. But Paul, that is what happened. Keeper Kane, thank you so much for that $5 super chat. Says, any chance we get to see your setups before you break down and move? I can't remember the last time I saw your tanks. I could probably do something for the members. I don't have a lot of tanks up right now. I've got the 90 and the 100-gallon system. And then on that stand, I also have a 10-gallon cube. Then I have 75 that's got the Exodons and a couple other things in it. And then I've got the triple stack 40 breeders. And then I've got 5 tanks behind me. So I could do a little something. But no, I haven't shown anything in a while, just because as I was taking down tanks and and I do have the 620 longs still up on that rack that I reset. But yeah, I could definitely do something. I'll probably stick it. Wait, let me not say that if you're not a member. If nothing else, I'll get some video and I can show you at the club meet. I may just do a quick little tour. It's nothing that I really feel is noteworthy, I guess, has been my thing. I kind of looked at them like, there's not anything here that people really want to see, probably. That's just some basic tanks and basic fish, if you will. But yeah, I can definitely make something happen. And Keeper Kane, thank you so much. Appreciate the super chat, my friend. All right, let's see. I got 11 minutes here, so I better get to moving. Oh, there we go. Wait, Masters. Oops, sorry. Go ahead, buddy.
Silver Creek was asking what my opinions on with different geos to keep. And man, I don't. It's tough, man. I really like all the geos. I don't know if there's a geo that I hate. I've had the Millerai, and they were wonderful. Just the thread fin that's in, like, he's not in timeout. He's in jail. He killed them all. I think geos, they're a very nice fish. You know, I made sure when I did my geo tank is I've got all my plants are floaters, but they're all big plants. So they're water sprite that hangs down about 1.5 feet across the top. And then they still, I mean, it's a 4-foot tall tank. So they have plenty of space to spit and stuff. But they weren't very smart fish. They, you know, this guy has got his girlfriend, and any fish that came around, he would attack. And all the geos would swim to the other side of the tank, and then they'd eventually make their way back over. And the other thread fins all stayed on the other side of the tank. But the geos just aren't very, they have very short memories, and they would just go back, and then they'd get killed one at a time. And it was just, that's the one bummer about geophagus, is they just don't seem to be very smart fish. Maybe it's they don't have a big brain because of the slant. I don't know.
It just got Oink Master Supreme forever saying, Fish from Fever and Ed, hiya, the Oink Master Supreme is in your house. How are you both feeling? Better, I hope. Sending you one of the famous tackling healing hugs. Oink Master, thank you so much. I'm glad to see you here, and I hope that you were doing well. Ed and I are, we're getting back on track to being 100%. All right. Trying to get caught up here. Scary Terry was confirming that Purigen really helps with smell and water clarity. Thank you for that confirmation. Because I've got a bunch. I used it way back in the day, back when I was mostly saltwater monster fish, but I honestly can't even remember how well it worked. So yeah, that is just good to have that confirmed, that it does still do the trick with the smells. Roll on down up through here. Stephanie McGettigan says, my sink water has had a yellow tinge for the last couple days. I need to top off my aquarium because of the evaporation. Would it be safe with prime or just buy some aquarium water? So in that particular case, what I would do, because so a lot of times if you've got a municipal water source, you can kind of go online and get some reports, but they don't necessarily always tell you everything they're doing with the water supply. I would probably say better safe than sorry, and in this particular instance, just buy some aquarium water, as much as I'm not a huge fan of that. If you had like an RO or RODI system and you could purify the water yourself and then remineralize, I would say go that way. Which I did have, shout out to New Aqua. They sent me a RODI system that I came in right in between Dallas and the Triple Crown. So I'll be sharing that with you all. And that's opening up a bunch of new fun stuff for the channel. But if you had that type of setup, I would say that it would be safe to go ahead and run it through there and clean it, and then you could remineralize for whatever you need. Since you're just doing a top off for a couple of days of evap, I would say probably just buy the little bit of water that you need to be safe and not have to worry about it. Because let's be honest, even if there's nothing wrong, and even if you treat it with, you know, prime or whatever it is, that yeah, you are using prime, which is what I use. I love this stuff. Even if you treat it and it's totally safe, even for things that you would be able to possibly test or know, you're still probably, like myself, going to have that nagging concern of, was it really safe? So it's probably going to cause some stress on that account. Especially since you're asking about it. I know it would kind of stress me, like, well, I hope that water was okay. I treated it, and now I'm watching everything, trying to make sure I didn't put any bad stuff in there. So even just for the peace of mind, it may be worth just going ahead and buying some aquarium water and letting your municipal system finish flushing out whatever they're flushing out or adding in at the moment.
She may want to run her water for a while to make sure it's out of her pipes too.
Yeah.
Because I once had a pipe break near my house, and it flushed all this, not crap, but dark stuff up into my lines, and I had to run all my water to get it out. It was gross.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's a good point. And another thing you could do, just if there is funky stuff coming through, a lot of people never take off the the water re-aerator, the little net, the little mesh piece that's on their tap. I do like to take that off and clean it from time to time, just because you can get stuff that builds up in there. And who knows, maybe you've gotten something that got pushed through the system and now it's in there. And so it's actually doing some polluting or contaminating right there at that source. All right. Desorites says, I have 3 Nearite snails, 2 zebras, 1 tiger. The tiger refuses to be in the tank. No problems with the other 2. Any ideas? It's a 36-gallon bow front. So one thing I have found with snails is that snails are going to do what snails are going to do. Neorites included, but mystery snails especially. I've had those things climb, a foot plus out of the water up the drywall and lay eggs on the wall. The only thing you can really do to kind of try and keep a snail somewhere that it's trying to get out of is just to make the lids even more tight fitting. Assuming you've got lids. If you don't have lids on there, then add lids. I know sometimes with the bow fronts that can be a little bit tricky, depending upon if you had a lid come with it. And if it's one of those glass pre-cut ones, it's got some extra area that's cut out specifically for the filter to go in. One thing I have found is you could just use some plain old saran wrap to kind of help cover any loose gaps if it's bothering you that much. Or you can get the dollar store sells the cellophane wrap like you would see around like a birthday basket or that type of an Easter basket, that type of wrap. I use that a lot to cover off tanks and things. Other than that, there's not a good way I know of to retrain a snail to stay in the darn tank. What about you, Ed?
Yeah, I mean, snails do what they want to do. If they think there's a fish in there threatening them, they'll try to leave too. I was cleaning up behind my tanks not too long ago, and I found like 50 snails that have left the tank that I had. I used to call this one Betta the snail bully, because whenever he saw a snail on the side of the tank, he'd knock it off. Well, they were all, or dozens of them were outside of the tank, just dried up dead at the bottom. So they were trying to get away from the fish in the tank.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a thing. Sometimes they just like to traverse. I found too. They just like, oh, hey, I found a place I can go. I want to go there. Again, that's been a lot more with mystery snails, but I found a lot of different snails will do that. And even on the saltwater side too, I've had snails that do that.
Oh, gross.
All right, let's see. Got 2 minutes left. See what I can burn through real quick here. Scary Terry says, that's ridiculous, man. We literally all keep fish. It is. And I'll rant on that another night. Maybe that'll be next week's rant. Because it is something that I wanted to talk about with John, but didn't get a chance to. Scuba Steve says, if they snapped at us, we would have went mafia on the Fisherman Fever. Sky Dancer saying hello and hopes we're both doing well. Hey, Sky Dancer, sorry, I'm just kind of burning through these. That's as far back up as I can get. So let's see how quickly I can get down through these. We're going to go hang out with Ed and do some fun stuff there with aquarium ornaments.
And Rico.
And Rico in a minute and a half. Paul Stera says, it was like after the decision to hold the convention in Louisville, the different clubs didn't talk to each other about anything else. I think they learned a few things for next time. 100% right, Paul. Yeah. That's exactly what it seemed like, and I really think they did pick up some useful bits of knowledge. Whip Swirl with that $5 super sticker. Thank you so much. That cute little Haya Fox. I appreciate you. Always good to see you, Whip Swirl, and thank you for the support. K Stu says, Ed and James, if you could hybridize any fish, what would it be? Ed, you got one you want to throw out there?
Boy, when I was a child, it was all about what would make this fish, hybridizing fish. Now I'm kind of gone the opposite way. I haven't thought about that in years. It's a great question. I'm going to have to think. Oh, you know what? I would like somehow for them to figure out to do, not stingrays. What are the little freshwater stingrays called? Maybe they are called freshwater stingrays. I wish they could keep them the size of the pups for life. I'd like a dwarf-sized stingray so everybody could have them.
Absolutely. Mine would be a striped piranha. So I don't know, maybe a datnoid with a piranha, but then that's going to get a really wide opening mouth. If you've ever seen a datnoid's mouth, they open up the way that they unhinge is crazy. So I don't know. I'd lose a whole hand on that one. But I think some sort of striped piranha would be my hybridization. Scary Terry says, like I've got cichlids, live bears, rainbows, saltwater, etc. I don't get why there's a division in the fish keeping hobby. I don't either. We're gonna rant about that next Thursday. It's gonna be our talk. Because it's freshwater, saltwater, it's groups of freshwater, and I've got an hour easy on that we can talk about. Pam Music, thank you so much for that $3 super sticker. We're gonna do a little dance for you too. Race roof. But what? Yeah, absolutely. So with that, how's it going, Fox? It's going great, Pam. Appreciate you being here. Thank you for that love and support, helping us keep the lights on, as I like to say. I hope you're doing well. Sorry, Ed. I know you were trying to say something. I'm still dancing. What?
I know that was a good dance. I would have been out of breath. I think it goes to the ignorance of humanity.
It does.
It's it goes right to racism, or always trying to find a difference in a group of people to make your group of people better. Like, I mean, and it goes, if everybody is white, then you hate the guys from the other side of the track. It just, there's always something that they have to see. And I don't mean just white, but I'm just saying, like, if everybody's the same color, they look for something that say that side's no good. Like maybe it's, oh, those people like to eat potatoes and we like to eat rice. So it's just a stupid thing about humanity where we just can't get along. And it's like we have to find something to divide each other.
It is. And without going too deep into the psychological aspect of, tribalism has been a huge thing in human development. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Jeff H. with the 555 super chat. Thank you so much. We're going to give you... appreciate that, Jeff.
Wow.
Says, my stinky tank experience... Pest snail got squashed between glass lid and frame. Didn't know it until PU. Yeah, I think I've had that happen at least once. Even if it wasn't between the lid and the frame, I know I've had snails that decided to climb up and then fall from the ceiling. And I had one land behind a rack one time, and it's like, what? That is definitely a dead smell or a dead snail smell. Where's it coming from? So yeah, that'll definitely do it. And like Buddy Viper said, glad you found it. Thank you again, Jeff, for all the love and support tonight. Really do appreciate you. Appreciate you just being here, but that extra means a whole lot. It really does. And I thank you. All right, am I almost? I know we're running into Ed's time here. Whisperworld says, have you forgotten to turn your filtration system back on after a water change, which subsequently killed nearly every cool fish you keep? Because I did that last month. I don't recall having done that, but I feel like that's an easy mistake to be made. Anytime you've got things that you're having to turn off for water changes, it's always a possibility, whether that's filtration, heaters, things of that nature. One thing I absolutely love, super quick here, the Wi-Fi outlets, particularly the ones that Ed gave me for a birthday or Christmas or whatever it was, but Ed gave them to me. They have a timer mode on them aside from being fully programmable to a schedule. So I have found, like, anytime I'm working on one of those systems, I'll cut them off and then I'll set a timer on it. So that way it automatically comes back on in an hour or 30 minutes or whatever time I need. And then I don't have to worry about it. And it's back on the schedule. Cause I use those timers, not just on my lights, but also on pumps and things that I know I'm going to need to unplug or turn off that are not necessarily easy to get to. I've got, when I like to mess with the missus and the kids, I hit the 2,400 gallon per hour pump. I've got it on one of those, and I'll turn it off and it makes a whole bunch of noise as the system's powering down. They're like, what? I'm like, oh, it's just me messing with you from 6 states away in the hotel room because I'm bored and I feel like it. Which, yeah, that sucks, and I'm sorry to hear that. But all right, to anyone else that I did not get to, let me make sure that nobody else threw money at me that I missed, because I don't think they did. I think I got it all. Roll back through here. Ash Light Cloud. I can't see it. Oh, there we go. Ash Light Cloud. Ash is awesome. Member for 13 months using that membership milestone. Super Chat says, I recently had a blue mystery snail bloom too. I love the blue fleshy mystery snails, or the purples, whatever you want to call them. I'm sure there's a technical terminology for them, but that's one of my favorites. And mystery snails is going to be another one of those things that I start bringing again because I just absolutely love it. On that note, we're going to head over to Chattanooga Ed's channel because I've gone over by 4 minutes and 55 seconds at this point. 134 people still watching. I do have the send over turned on to head you over that way, but if it doesn't send you there automatically, it'll pop a link up in the chat you can click on, as well as the mods. I'm sure we'll drop some links as well. If there were any questions or comments that I did miss, because I know the chat jumped around a couple times, feel free to bring those on over, and we'll be happy to address those as well on the Chattanooga Ed channel. Ed, any final words?
I'm going to be about a minute because I got to fill this with ice and water.
There you go. Absolutely.
Thanks, James.
Ed, as always, I appreciate you being here. I'm sorry that I got you sick, as Sean said. Shame on me. But thanks for being my buddy, as always. A huge thank you to all of the moderators, members, lurkers, listeners, super chatters, contributors, questioners, commentators, and of course the replay crew. I love you guys. Tom Patterson, there's your peace sign. Till next time, keep your fish healthy. Keep yourselves healthy. Don't be afraid to catch yourself a little fish room fever. Take care, everybody.